cracking? What's going on? It is yours truly, SirStrange, aka SirStreezy, in the building and at your service. I've been quiet about this subject for a minute. I've seen a bunch of feeds coming to me regarding this subject, and I know y'all see me all the time putting this in the air, but how long am I gonna keep putting this in the air? I don't know, cause it's looking kind of wild right now, man. It's looking pretty crazy for these guys. But there's apparently a lawsuit Nintendo and Pokemon are putting out on Palworld and Pocket Pair. These amazing indie developers that gave us something pretty extraordinary and great. I enjoy both titles respectfully, but apparently Big Daddy Fat Stacks Nintendo ain't liking the success that this game is receiving, and I decided to react to some of these videos of people discussing it. So without much talking, let's get into it.
This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. Okay, so if you're unaware, recently Nintendo and Pokemon Company have recently pulled a lawsuit on Palworld. And I know what you're thinking, right?
Oh, well, of course they did that. So many of the designs of the Pals are just straight rip-offs, are heavily inspired by the Pokemon. Of course they're going to be pulling a copyright. No.
Yeah, and going on to what that dude just said, they look, man. Game Freak has no room to be talking about they copied some of our designs and da. I was like, yo, like let's not forget that this happened. All right, let's not forget. Come on, Game Freak. Come on, Pokemon. Let's not forget this happened. Okay. Straight, where you want to call it, copying or heavily inspired. I would prefer the term heavily inspired, because yeah, the designs are different, but we can't escape the fact that these are pretty much the same creatures, same thing. So yeah, nah, that argument.
No, I wish they were doing that. Because one, they'd never win that fight, and they know it. Palworld's creatures are obviously just parodies or just straight up not Pokemon at all. Excuse the background noise. Zeus is just kind of being a today and trying to hurricane my house. But Nintendo isn't trying to do a copyright suit. No. They're trying to do a patent lawsuit. What's the difference? Well, a copyright would be like the look of Pikachu.
That was a new
patent is a whole ass game mechanic. They are trying to own the idea of capturing in a 3D space. Here's the image and like the little blurbs of their idea they're trying to own. Literally just throwing shit at monsters. They want to own the idea of throwing things in a 3D space. But there's more. They got patents for fast traveling, summoning something to fight for you, summoning a mount, swapping mounts, just plain physics. I don't even know how they do that. Well, that's the thing. Apparently, it's a thing in Japan that if you patent, like, air of the video game, you just use the honor system with everyone else that you're just not gonna sue each other. But that's not on the menu today, boys! Because Nintendo is suing Palworld for using all of this stuff that they never came up with in the first place. And let me tell you, patents are straight up cancer on the video game community. You've heard it before, right? With, like, the Nemesis system, which was patented by Warner Brothers in 2016, pretty much forbidding anyone else from having NPCs that remember and hate the player for their actions in a game. And
okay, see, that's crazy. I never knew about that. That's interesting that they put a patent on that. So since they put a patent on that, no other game developer can have an NPC nemesis that just goes throughout your journey and story remembering you, and that's kind of whack. So what is another developer supposed to do? That is kind of trash.
Shadow of War, if you torn off an orc's arm, that guy would remember you and he would hunt you down like a dog. It was so immersive and made for some of the most realistic characters in any video game because they actually remembered everything you did and they specifically felt a way towards you depending on your actions. And their patents made it so nobody could do anything like that ever again to like the end of time. Namco made a patent that forbids anyone else from putting mini games in a loading screen.
Wow.
You can't play a round of Galaga while your game loads anymore because somebody made a document saying that they own it. Game patents are...
Wait a minute, are you serious? See, I didn't know this was going down like this. This is insane. And now I think about it, there was a few joints that, you know, while the loading screen was low, like the key example I'm thinking of, like off rip, is one of the Dragon Ball Z Budokai joints. Before you get into a fight, there's a mini game where adult Gohan is pulling swords out the ground. Well, I guess that's theirs. That's their thing. So they was the only ones that could have a mini game before the actual game. They patented that so no one else could do it. That's wild. That's crazy.
Terrible. And unfortunately for Nintendo, they will definitely win this obviously stupid suit because they did it all through a Japanese court where they will never lose. It's just how it is with the way the Japanese court system works and the fact Nintendo is the largest company in Japan. There's no way they can lose. And this isn't just bad for Palworld. Think of all the amazing monster taming games coming out right now, with brand new ideas and awesome twists on the usual Pokemon formula that Pokemon didn't come up with, by the way. And now Nintendo has ammunition to just block any of these wonderfully amazing games. Because actually, fuck you. And on their website, they say this is like in order to protect the valuable intellectual property that has been up there, the blah, 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 blah. But Palworld isn't even the hottest shit right now. Some would even say that it has fallen off. Well, except for Sony, who's been shitting their pants so bad recently, they tried to drag it onto their platform just to have it cock blocked, which is pretty hilarious, but Palworld could have just made its money, and Nintendo could have got the boot in the ass it needed to do better than a forced yearly Pokemon release. But no, we can't. I was in the middle of recording my Hoenn retrospective, and this will spoil a big part of that video, but did you know that Oraz only had a year of dev time? Yeah. That's why there's no Battle Frontier or any of that Emerald shit people wanted. They just didn't have the time to do it. And these patents will do nothing but hurt the entire genre of monster taming, and frankly the entire medium of video games. Nintendo/Pokemon will just sit on their laurels exactly like that stupid Smiley Friends clip with the CEO, because now they just own an entire genre of video games, which is just foolish. Video games are an art form, and like art, it's meant to build on one another. That's why as an artist, if you're not stealing, you're not trying. Well, unless it's just like straight up tracing or AI.
that's gotta be. But he's true, man. It's right. Like, well, how they say? What's that saying? The best flattery is imitation. Like they should be proud that they took something that they quote unquote created and turned it into something dope. Actually, like it's like I said, I don't even understand why they feel so threatened by this, because it's not even in that same vein or that same department. Pokemon is still to this day on their RPG style thing. You go out, you capture your mons, you fight your way off of a training hierarchy, get your gym badges. It still does that element. Palworld, although yes, it has a creature capturing mechanic, the rest is like a cluster of everything dope Nintendo has done. It's got, well, minus the Minecraft stuff, but Pocket Pair said, hey, let's take everything that's succeeding, put it together, and see what happens. And it blew up. Capturing cool creatures, being able to build a fortress or a home base or whatnot, and actually give your pals purpose other than to just fight for you. And then you don't even, the other crazy thing is you don't even need them to fight for you. You can fight for yourself. You don't even need them to fight for you. Whereas for some reason in Pokemon, I can't use these. Let me hold on, let me see who's in my party right now. Yeah, here you go. Like they they got that going on for them. Like if you want to duke it out, you got to do it through the mods. Got to do it through the mods. Whereas Palworld was like, hey, I got a blicky, I can use this. So not only that, they incorporated a third person shooting mechanic. And then the open world, it's clearly Breath of the Wild inspired. You climbing walls, they got a glider. Like you took everything that was winning and crammed it together, and it's dope. And then you got online, you can play with friends. I mean, totally different direction, man. I don't get why the fear, the terror, the they're gonna take our folks. They're gonna take our folks. No, they're not. All y'all gotta do is just continue to do what y'all do, and that's improve. Which, me personally, I can't speak for all the other fans because y'all are like awesome. I can't see the sap leaking from this tree type graphics, people. Y'all belong on the PlayStation side of the weirdos, where all y'all care about is visuals and not if the game actually being fun. But that's besides the point.
Dog shit, but those are the exception. If Nintendo gets away with it, when Nintendo gets away with this, I get the feeling that shit's gonna hit the fan hard on all these games. God, I hate patents with their stupid vague word salads that are just here to make everything worse.
Yeah, those are new pals.
Sheesh, forgive my little rant. I really just wanted to put the word out about how dumb this is, and I just feel really strongly about this genre. It's literally like my favorite thing. I love all these games. And, I love Pokemon. That's why I was doing that whole retrospective, but well, there goes my favorite tree. Zeus! Destroy those patents, and my life is yours.
Alright, that guy was kind of funny. Yeah, he had some solid points. So there was another one that I want to look at.
Earlier this year, one of the biggest success stories in video game history came about, and that was Pocket Pair's Palworld. Taking a lot of inspiration from Pokemon, it was dubbed pretty much, Pokemon but with guns, but it was much more than that. I think it represented an actual...
Absolutely way more than that. And that was the other thing that was putting a sour taste on the crazy fans that's like, oh, they're just copying. It's like, man, y'all keep calling it Pokemon with guns when it's not even really that, really. Like I said, it's a survival type style game with a creature capturing mechanic in it. But you really don't even need the creatures. They help, but you really don't need them because you got blickies and shotties.
Evolution of the formula that Nintendo and Game Freak have been not doing that great with for the longest time, at least in gaming. What do I mean by that is, well, you can look at the numerous entries that have come about in recent years, and there's just a lackluster quality with a lot of the Pokemon games, and there's a dissatisfaction with what Nintendo and Game Freak have been producing, but ultimately, Pokemon is one of those too big to fail franchises. There's a couple of them, Call of Duty, Fortnite, FIFA, games like that. And those games can have such massive controversy, such massive launch disasters, but they ultimately will always go on to have massive sales figures no matter what, because the casual normal audience eat those products up. And that ultimately leads to the products stagnating in terms of quality, and that's been the core problem with Pokemon the last decade or so. So a game like Palworld, evolving the formula in a unique spin, different way, it was a breath of fresh air, and there's a reason why the game had like 2 million players at launch on Steam, massive sales success, and it was a surprise to everybody, not just the developers, but many players, and also the gaming industry, which had a lot of varying reactions. But on Steam, if you actually check the user reviews, it's always been very positive. It's a $30 game. It clearly has an endpoint, so it's not one of those games that I think people are going to be spending their whole lives playing. But they have been making new content. They have continued to iterate on its formula over time, adding new pals and all kinds of new islands and places and things to do. But it definitely is one of those games that you can drop the controller.
Yeah, I gotta get back because I forgot this update happened. I haven't been on there in a minute, man. I've had a lot going on lately as far as other content and backlog, trying to get that caught up and all that. But yeah, I need to come back to Palworld, bro.
Down and move on from, but still it is extremely healthy, still has about 20,000 players daily, and it has, again, after each new update, it usually has a little bit of a growth in terms of its player base to around 100,000, then it slows down. But ultimately, the controversy surrounding Palworld has not slowed down. This has been the elephant in the room. This VGC article coming from January, Palworld embroiled in AI and Pokemon plagiarism controversy, social media users, and what do they mean by that is just Pokemon fanboys pretty much bringing up every single creature design, saying how they're so similar to Pokemon and how it has to be copyright infringement, but that really is a mischaracterization of a game that clearly parodies Pokemon in many ways. And then there's been so many debunked points that have been brought up by many of these individuals, and ultimately Nintendo has been hiding in the shadows for the longest time. They've given some statements which indicated they're investigating, but there hadn't been actual legal action until today. Now, it is worth mentioning again, these are some of the creature designs. I'm going to fast forward through a couple of them, but there's so many examples that you can pick from here. As you can see in these videos, they clearly took their inspiration from Pokemon, but there's nothing wrong with that. That is usually covered by copyright. But yeah, there's a lot of different examples, a lot of different pals that look very, very similar. And this was the core issue with a lot of Pokemon fans earlier this year, saying, look, Palworld is just a direct ripoff of what Nintendo and Game Freak produced. But I do think the problem with that is the fact that Nintendo did the same exact fucking thing with Dragon Quest.
I was just saying that. I was just saying, look at this, y'all. Look, Dragon Quest, Pokemon. Look, same thing, different design. Same thing, bro. So if anything, Dragon Quest need to get on y'all case, you know? But nah, it's supposed to be cool. It's like, yeah. I guess you're gonna get on Dragon Quest because now they got a creature collecting style game. Go. Yeah, go get them so they can get you back with this. That's crazy, bro. It's crazy.
Years ago too, taking a lot of the creature designs and using it. So yeah, I don't find that really is a valid complaint. But there was also accusations that the pals were all AI generated. That was a massive one. That was because of the Pocket Pair CEO said he liked AI and NFTs and such. But again, this was pretty much debunked in interviews and stuff that had come beforehand, in which they said it took a month to make one pal just the 3D model. There was also, again, AI tweets that were taken out of context that Nintendo fans used again. So this has been a massive controversy for a while. And this all leads us to this. The legal action that was taken by Nintendo just the other day. They said filing lawsuit for infringement on patent rights. That's the interesting thing. They don't say copyright, they say patent rights against Pocket Pair. Nintendo, together with the Pokemon Company, filed a patent infringement lawsuit in the Tokyo District Court against Pocket Pair. On September 18th, the lawsuit seeks an injunction against infringement and compensation for damages on the grounds that Palworld, a game developed and released by the defendant, infringes multiple patent rights. What are these multiple patent rights? We do not know the specifics yet, and Palworld doesn't seem to either. Nintendo will continue to take necessary actions against any infringement of its intellectual property rights, including the Nintendo brand, to protect the intellectual properties it has worked hard to establish over the years. Nintendo, the ninjas they are, everybody knew that legal action was coming. This was pretty obvious. They have been notable for their lawsuits against any company or anything that comes close to being just like Pokemon, and a lot of this is valid. We saw this is big news recently. They won a $15 million copyright lawsuit against a Chinese mobile game, which pretty much looked like a ripoff of Pokemon. It was far more blatant than what Palworld was doing. It was literally just Pikachu with like a little different haircut. Palworld at least...
Yeah, see, that's different. Now that I can understand. Like, y'all literally using Ash and actual properties of Pokemon to make a game, claim it yours. Yeah, you can't do that. That's comedy. So that makes sense. But what Pocket Pair did, come on, man. It's his whole thing.
At least it definitely looks different with a lot of the vibes, and a lot of the pals have notable differences. And then we did see this was another major thing that I think this was the major indication that legal action was coming eventually. I don't think people thought it was going to take 8 months, but we knew it was coming. Pokemon Company's former top lawyer calls Palworld rip-off nonsense. That was their former chief legal officer, Don McGowan, and yeah, that's what he said at the time. We also had Nintendo's president commenting on Palworld in February. He said, "We will take appropriate action against those that infringe on our intellectual property rights." That was, again, in February, January, those comments got a lot of people concerned that legal action was coming down the road, and here it is now. Now, it is worth mentioning that we did see some lawyers talking about this at the time. Richard Hogue of Hogue Law said anybody can sue anyone for any reason, so I can't tell you what Nintendo will or won't do about Palworld. I can tell you, however, they'd have a tough time winning on any infringement claim that isn't arguing a direct design copy, and there's no proof of that. There's been a lot of debunked claims put on social media and such, but nothing directly. And I don't even think that's necessarily what Nintendo is suing about here. We're going to get to that in a second so you understand what they're going after. The game itself is a Minecraft, Zelda, Monster Hunter, I would actually add Elden Ring in there, mashup unlike anything Pokemon has put forth, so there's no winning there. The PAL designs have elements that are similar to Pokemon, but even though they fly a bit close to the sun for my taste, that's a really hard case to win. Nintendo would be better served seeing what elements of the game might fit with its own brand. If it was only that easy. If it was only that easy. Now, this is the actual response coming from Palworld. They did respond to this lawsuit. They said, regarding it yesterday, a lawsuit was filed against us for patent infringement. We have received notice of this lawsuit and will begin the appropriate legal proceedings and investigations into the claims of patent infringement. And yeah, they better get ready because this is a small indie company going against a company that has probably some of the best lawyers in the world, and they win a lot. As everybody knows, the reputation for Nintendo and their lawyers in a legal action. At the moment, we're unaware of the specific patents we are accused of infringing upon, and we have not been notified of such details. Pocket Pair is a small indie company based in Tokyo. Our goal as a company has always been to create fun games. They've been very open about the fact that they're not crazy about originality. They look at other games for inspiration. They did that with Pokemon here. They've even said that they're fans of it, which
I think is perfectly fine. Once again, the ultimate flattery is imitation. You got gold right now, and people are using that gold to expand on the gold. What's wrong with that? Other than, yeah, you're gonna have a handful of the Pokemon fans be like, oh yeah, we're gonna help Palworld eat too. But I mean, why not? They're a small indie developer that made something dope. I see no problems here.
Isn't necessarily an indictment on, Palworld and what it's all about. It just shows that they have a different way of going about game development, and hey, this industry is known for taking different things from one game and using it in their own. I think that's what makes products even better in the future. We will continue to pursue this goal because we know that our games bring joy to millions of gamers around the world. Palworld was a surprise success this year, both for gamers and for us, and they go on to say it is truly unfortunate that we'll be forced to allocate significant time to matters unrelated to game development due to this lawsuit. However, we will do our utmost for our fans and to ensure that indie game developers are not hindered or discouraged from pursuing their creative ideas. So yes, Pocket World is getting ready. They will fight Nintendo on this, and I don't blame them. It is worth mentioning this is what Nintendo is probably going after. We don't know the specifics yet. It's unclear if it is specifically, the creature designs and such, but there's patents that were filed earlier this year which gives clear indication that Nintendo is trying to protect the idea of throwing a ball and catching, creatures. In one of the patent examples that we have here by this user, the Board Boar, they bring up the storage medium storing game program patent. It goes on what it's called, but it says in a first mode, an aiming direction in a virtual space is determined based on a second operation input, and a player character is caused to launch in the aiming direction an item that affects a field character disposed on a field in the virtual space based on a third operation input. In a second mode, the aiming direction is determined based on the second operation input, and the player character is caused to launch in the aiming direction a fighting character that fights based on the third operation input. So pretty much what Nintendo is claiming that they own here is that this is what they filed for patents earlier this year. They're now suing, I believe, against Pocket Bear, is that they own the mounting system and the ability to throw a ball to summon, and fight creatures. And all of this was filed in May of 2024. That seems to be what they say that they own, the ability to throw a ball. It shows math of, the potential of catching that creature inside of that ball. That is what Nintendo is saying that they own. And there was another patent that was brought up here, another example, saying that this one might also be relevant. These were all filed. This one was years ago based on first data transmitted from a game controller. A game apparatus executes game processing for catching a predetermined game character and transmits to the game controller second data corresponding to the game character as a target to be caught. This is specifically what I'm referring to. And this was filed in 2019. This is what Nintendo says that I think that's what they say that they own. Based on the transmitted second data, the game controller outputs a sound corresponding to the caught game character. And adding this in for some better context, but Stephen Totillo, GameFile again, he found Nintendo's patent from 2021 for a video game character throwing an item to catch a monster while out in the field. So it's really unclear what the dates are, these patents and such, but yeah, Nintendo apparently has had this one existing for a while, and they actually even have a diagram of it here showing an individual character throwing a ball, catching what appears to be here a creature. So this is what Nintendo, this is the defense they're going for. It's basic game mechanics. The first patent we talked about, I think that was referring to, throwing a ball, having a creature fight on your own behalf. And then this one's about being able to throw a ball and catch a creature. So all these basic mechanics with Pokemon, Nintendo is pretty much arguing, saying that they own it. This is what they own. Now, ultimately, this was frowned upon from the gaming industry, as so many different developers have come forward saying that the gaming industry is all about iterating on things that have already existed. You see so many different elements that started in one game, then it's experimented in a bunch of other games, then those games make new stuff that goes in other. The gaming industry has always been about everybody, iterating on what somebody else did beforehand. And the fact that we have patents like this is kind of disgusting, and it seems like Nintendo's been going down this road as well, and that's their argument against Palworld right now. And if successful, again, it reaffirms a very dangerous precedent in terms of the creativity of the gaming industry. Now, GameFile's Stephen Totillo, he had more on this, talking about this lawsuit. He mentioned the fact that in June at Summer Game Fest in Los Angeles, Pocket Bear's CEO said that about Nintendo and concerns, there had been none raised by Nintendo at this point with his company about the game, nothing at all. Nintendo and the Pokemon company didn't say anything to us because they were in the shadows investigating. We're getting ready for this lawsuit, trying to find any avenue to go after them, and it appears they have found one. Of course, I love Pokemon and I respect it. I grew up with it in my generation. And then it was also worth mentioning that Pocket Bear's community manager, John Bucky Buckley, tweeted his thoughts about Summer Game Fest, but he added a certain kind of reaction occasionally came up. Palworld is still the boogeyman for some people. Obviously, we're more than aware of all the Palworld discourse that floated around at launch. Palworld was made with AI false. Palworld stole assets false. Palworld is being sued false, and unfortunately that last point is now true. Now, it is worth mentioning this, again, there's been so much controversy. These are some of the posts from earlier this year that we were talking about at the time in January. I thought I'd quickly go over it. There was so much praise, but there was also, the divisiveness was crazy with this game. Somebody bringing up here, again, it's a $30 game, offers more content than $70 AAA cash grab, lets you create Western orcs or beautiful characters, freedom of choice, fun, no microtransactions. Again, these are some of the reasons why I really did enjoy Palworld. Again, it was also just the enjoyable nature of its gameplay, but there is an endpoint. There's a point in which I feel like I did almost everything I wanted to with the game and I moved on. I feel like that's why the game has lost a lot of players, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's something that Palworld's developers have even said. Just because a game, not every game has to have over 100,000 players consistently for years to come to be considered a success. And yeah, don't play Palworld. It's a Pokemon ripoff, and then the comparisons to what Pokemon's been producing, there's just so many of that.
Oh man, but you know what though, when what's it called came out, when Scarlet and Violet came out, it didn't come out at 70. I mean, okay, $10 difference, it came out at 60, but you know, I'm just saying, man, like, it seems like the only complaint that I've been hearing about from these other players is that visual issue and glitch issues, which I can honestly say was not my problem. It wasn't. I didn't have those issues playing Scarlet and Violet. I didn't have any glitches. I care about visuals to a T, but I'm not gonna let visuals ruin me having fun. Scarlet and Violet was fun to me, DLC included. I had a great time, and I still on and off play the game with my friends. So it's like, we are here to have fun with games, not be visually impressed. You want to be visually impressed? Go watch a freaking movie. I don't know. Like you can have the most realistic thing, and that's going to be garbage. I don't care for realistic visuals. Is the game fun? And to me, it was fun. Just saying.
Another person pointing out that it's I'm so happy to see Nintendo fumble such an easy bag. Pokemon on PC was the biggest untouched gold mine ever, and Palworld is grinding away at it right now, well deserved. Another individual saying Palworld is a deeply annoying kind of game to watch get popular. What if through some freak event it actually gets big enough to make Game Freak a little less complacent? That wouldn't be the worst thing, and I agree with that latter part of that statement. Palworld feels like this year's Hogwarts Legacy, where it's selling a bunch and is embroiled in a ton of online controversy, but after a month or so, it's barely going to be on a blip on the internet radar. It stayed on Nintendo's radar, though, unfortunately. And ultimately, a lot of people moved on from talking about this game in the months to follow, and we even saw game developers at the time talking about it, pretty much giving pause to the people going after it, saying, as a game designer, I'm baffled that some say this is lazy. Even if you copy an idea from another game, you can just copy/paste it. Even doing a sequel to your own game with the same programmer and a new engine, it takes crazy amount of time to develop a viable version 2.0 of a mechanic. Very much the point I was trying to make earlier on. Probably didn't word it all that well, but I think this puts it in a lot better perspective. And this new element mechanic concept now has to work together with a ton of other new things. Catching a creature to use it in combat exists in Pokemon, base building exists in Ark and Fallout 4 and Fortnite, but making sure it plays well together, the specifics of the 3C, feedback, balancing, etc., makes it that taking two things and smashing them together in a way that works and is approachable to mainstream players is not an easy feat. If only for that I'd take an offense in lazy being thrown out. And these are the accusations that were thrown endlessly around earlier this year. Palworld's overwhelming success is the first step of the normalization of generative AI slop games, which is really, really depressing. 10 years ago, an asset flip game like this would have been relentlessly ridiculed. That's not the case. That's not what Palworld is about. Another individual, this one pretty much debunking the point that this game is not AI generated, and even actually has a community note pointing out that Steam requires games to disclose when they contain AI generated content. Reading some of the Palworld Discord as an artist is very depressing. I didn't want to know this is how little some people care about it, artistic integrity, and it goes on and on. I mean, there's so many different posts going after the game, accusing it of things that are not the case. This was the controversy earlier this year. People bringing up all kinds of facts about their experience with the developers, the fact that they're known for making non-original games. That's not an indictment on who they are or the fact that they're infringing Nintendo at all, in my opinion. This was some of their games. This is their menu comparing it to Ark. They took inspiration. They were very obvious about that. Even with, you can see with the Elden Ring right here, they have the churches in there, the same little arenas. They took inspiration. And it also just points to the fact that they weren't just taking ideas from, Nintendo. They're taking it from various different games, and it worked. And there's a lot of, as the game developer from Arcane pretty much pointed out, this isn't just something that's lazy or very easy to do, especially to make it something that explodes to the mainstream audiences like this did. But yeah, there's just so many posts that we were talking about earlier this year. Looking at it, it's actually kind of baffling how much controversy was associated with this game. It's funny how we spent the last few months talking about YouTube plagiarism and AI stealing from creators being bad, but only to reward a game doing both with 2 million plus sales with no proof at all, unfortunately. And yeah.
There it is. Palworld is back in the Nintendo limelight with this lawsuit, man, with this catching mechanic infringement patent thing. Like, dude, this is this is stupid, bro. Like, if that's the case, then y'all got a lot of other heavily inspired people to go after. Like I said, go mess with Dragon Quest Monster. What's the joint? The what is it? They just dropped it on the Switch too. Go after Dragon Quest Monsters. Go after Tim. Go after hell, go after Monster Hunter stories. I mean, they don't have an item that you can throw at said creature to capture them, but it's still a creature capturing game. They do throw some type of item at said creature, right? And that item allows the player to then follow its trail to its nest, so that it can then go to the nest, get the egg of said creature, take it back to your village. Go after them. Go after Nexomon and all of the other joints like that. Like there's just so many other titles that has been heavily inspired by the greatness that is Pokemon. And the only reason, like I said, the only reason I believe they didn't go after these other guys, like even Digimon, like, look, the reason they didn't go so hard on these other guys is because Palworld got that major success out the gate. It was looking not too good for Pokemon. It wasn't, because rightfully so, they didn't have nothing like that. They didn't. They had Legends Arceus. It wasn't really a survival type, but it had a cool element of being afraid out there in the wild with these wild creatures. You know, you actually gotta dodge their attacks now before you actually get hurt, because these are supposed to be dangerous animals. So, you know, that was a cool mechanic. You know, the whole dodge rolling, throwing your ball at them to catch them. It was somewhat a survival, in a sense, style game, but it didn't have everything Palworld included. Like I said, they included that Minecraft. You're building your homes. You got your pals that help you create resources. Your pals you have the option to have them help you out there in the wild to survive. Gather other resources to bring back home to base. They can help you defend your base. Your base can get raided. I mean, they took, like I said, they took elements from games that are winning and just crammed it in one, and it's a hit. It's a hit. They got numbers. Nintendo and Pokemon saw that they was getting major numbers from being new and fresh out the gate, and they said, They gonna take our folks. They're gonna take our folks. We need to get them. We need to get them now. We're the ninjas. We're the ninjas. Find something. This is crazy, bro. This is crazy. Like, I don't even understand why they're acting like this. Nintendo is like literally the Osiris of the gaming world right now. In this era right now, with Xbox, with Microsoft and Sony being here in this. They came later. With this still going on, Nintendo is the OG. As long as they've been here, they have nothing to worry about. That's been my argument with this. It's like, why y'all worried about the new people? Pocket Pair's the new guy. They're the new kid on the block. They little. They little. Maybe it's because this little team made some fire. And it may be a threat. Maybe. But me personally, just going off of history alone of how long and solidified and grandfathered Nintendo is in the gaming industry, they got nothing to worry about, bro. They got nothing to worry about. At all. Like they shouldn't be. It's whack. They shouldn't be going this hard after a new indie developer just because, you know, they made something cool and it's working and it's succeeding. And I don't know, maybe they over there upset that, you know, they couldn't really get to that first or something. I don't know. I mean, the way it was going, I highly doubt that there was even ever going to go in that direction. it was wishful thinking. You know, we were still hoping for, you know, Pokemon to get closer to that open, like official open world slash damn near MMO type style Pokemon game. We was hoping for it. Is it ever gonna happen? Who knows? But now that they're gonna potentially win this lawsuit against Pocket Pair and try to get a lock on the many things that was brought up in those videos, it's like, man, they win this, they gonna get their team in the studio and pretty much
get heavily inspired by what Pocket Pair did.
But now they'll be able to put Pokemon's title on there. If they do that, man, that's gonna be trash. I'm not even gonna lie. That's gonna be so whack on their part. I couldn't be down with that. I couldn't support that. That would be so whack, bro. That would be trash. If that happened, I wouldn't get the game, bro. I'm sorry. Like, at that point, I could no longer hold this in the air for that, because that would be a terrible, horrible whack move on their part. Let the new guy eat, bro. Pocket Pair just here to allow people to have fun, and that's they succeeded. They succeeded. We're having fun. We're having fun. I and a select other few are still having fun with you too, Pokemon Game Freak. We're still having fun with your stuff. We're still, you know, trying to stand 10 toes down and be the hoorah for those that's killing y'all over graphics. We'll stand firm. We'll stand firm for those idiots that's literally aiming to break the game, or they got a copy of y'all game stupid dumb early when they wasn't supposed to. And maybe that was the result of them getting that. That, yeah, your joint is a glitchy mess because you got it the wrong way, you know? Because developers do implement stuff like that in these games. Where if you didn't get it properly or you didn't get it right, oh, they got little things and little secrets in there. But like, oh, so you think, yeah, okay, all right. But that's my thoughts on it, man. Talk to me. What's y'all thoughts about this whole thing, man? Are y'all on the side of, yes, we want Nintendo to win with this lawsuit, or are y'all on the side of let Pocket Pair eat, bro? Let them eat. Because they didn't do nothing wrong. At least to me. They didn't do nothing wrong at all. This is wild. This is very wild, man. I want Pocket Pair to eat. I don't want Nintendo to win this, because if they do, then that's trash, and then that means that any other indie developer that was heavily inspired by what they did can't be done, or else it's the fear of they lose it all, and that's garbage and discouraging for any new indie developer that's just trying to make something cool. Yeah, that's my thoughts on it, y'all. Y'all know how I ended. We out this piece. Salute, deuces, and I'm gonna see y'all next time. Peace. We out.